Hello, welcome to another weekly update. I hope you're well. Been a kind of interesting week. So I think as I talked about last time, I kicked off a series where I'm going through Azure Communication Services because it's soon going to be generally available. And every day I'm doing a new blog post talking about some different area of Azure Communication Services and how you can use it as a developer. And so this week, since the last time, there have been quite a few sort of new things that you can do that I've talked about. So making peer-to-peer calls and receiving them, joining group calls, the Microsoft Teams interop, that big new kind of feature recently announced at Ignite, and muting and unmuting, and also showing and hiding video was today's one as well. So lots of different things you can do. The idea really is that each day is I'm just going to focus on one of those things and just talk about it in some detail, give you some code to kind of showcase that one particular feature. So it's not like a big end-to-end sample. The idea is it's just the code you need to showcase the one thing you're trying to do. So yeah, so those are the sort of things I've been doing this week. So every day there's been a blog post. So days 4 to 11 have covered kind of this week. I'm going to go to 15 every single day, and then probably take a bit of a break, and I will add to it over time as well. It's just the obviously effort of doing a daily blog post is the reality is obviously the reality is I don't actually write them every day because of work and stuff. So I queue them up at the weekends, and then so that's quite a lot of effort to kind of do. So I can't kind of commit to doing one daily forever. So I'm going to go to 15 and then stop, but then I'll definitely add to it. I've done these series types of things before. I did it for the Skype Web SDK as well, and just added more over time. So that was that's kind of been the focus of what I've been blogging about certainly this week. I think this ACS thing is kind of interesting, so it's definitely one to keep an eye on. Like I said, it's still public preview, so this is a great time to get into it because it's almost GA but not quite yet, so you're not even missing out. All right. What else has been happening? So this is a blog I want to talk about by the Microsoft Teams people. It's on the Microsoft Teams developer blog, and it's talking about some capabilities. I've talked about these capabilities before. They've come into the mobile application, and they cover some of the device support that mobiles have for things like location, microphone use, like a QR scanner. And using the camera and stuff like that. So it's kind of device capabilities and building support for that device capability into Teams. The most obvious one of these might be like you might think a camera inside a Microsoft Teams app. So right now it's quite hard to actually get access to the camera inside a Microsoft Teams app. So this builds really nice support for that into the same Teams JavaScript client SDK that you currently use for writing Teams applications, but now there's kind of these additional device capabilities if the device supports it for image, microphone, location, and a QR or barcode scanner. Talked about this before. It's been in preview, but it's just gone GA. So that's what the reason for the blog post is, and that's why we're talking about it again now. It's now generally available. Anyone can use it, and you can use it in production as well. Good blog post talking through what's now available and also exactly how you can use it. There's a code snippet. It's a new API endpoint called Select Media that's part of the SDK. So you can use that to go and kind of get access to the camera and stuff like that. There's a Select Media for using the same one for the microphone as well. There's a Get Location and Show Location APIs for doing exactly the same thing with location and putting it on a map and stuff like that. And then there's also a Scan Barcode API, which abstracts nicely actually the use of a device for kind of scanning barcodes or whatever using the camera of the device. One of the things about this is just be aware if you're writing Teams applications like this, you don't get to say particularly where your Teams application is going to run. So yeah, you might build it for mobile because that's the intended use case, but actually people will run it on the desktop as well because you can do that in Teams. You just need to be aware that not all of the capabilities being talked about here are necessarily going to be available on all of the devices that Teams might run on. So it's just a gotcha to be aware of. You need to handle it in the code really. If that support is not there, you need to kind of nicely handle it in your application. Don't assume that everybody is going to use your app on a mobile because that's not true for Teams, right? People use Teams in lots of different places and apps in Teams are available in lots of different places. Yep. So there's links in that blog post to like documentation and the API reference points as well to go through all of that. So if that sounds interesting and you want to build that into your Teams application, go start there. Yeah, great to see this new functionality for Teams apps. It's a really nice idea. Only one other thing to talk about today. I'm going to try and keep it short if I can. And that is another entry in the Microsoft Graph Mailbag blog. And this is interesting actually because it's talking about how you can use how you can write an Electron app that uses Microsoft Graph. So there's a special Electron provider that you can now use for authenticating users inside an Electron app. There's a special Electron provider. That means that if you're inside an Electron app, it's very easy to then call Microsoft Graph. So you use this provider to do all the authentication stuff for you, and then you can keep using the Microsoft Graph Toolkit, but you can now just make Microsoft Graph API calls, and all the authentication stuff is nicely handled for you. There's a good blog post about it here, including some great screenshots. This walks through like the stuff you need to do to get started, walks through using like a quick start project, and then shows you kind of what the experience is going to look like. Here you can see it's running inside Electron, and you see how the auth is kind of like popped up for you. Looks really nice, exactly what you expect, but then you get the auth token back to be able to use it straight away in Graph. So that looks really cool. They use this. The interesting thing about Electron, by the way, is that it's more than just hosting a website in an application. You get access to the desktop as well. So the next thing they do is use it to change the wallpaper based on presence. So as you change your Teams presence, it changes the wallpaper of the machine, which is kind of cool. It's a nice kind of demo, if you like, of why Electron rather than just using an application like a website. So yeah, kind of interesting. If that sounds interesting to you, like I've never really played with Electron. I've never really looked into Electron as a wrapper. I haven't really needed to be honest. It's kind of an interesting use case. It's interesting to me as well to see like Teams apps. They're a kind of like the more and more we see people using Teams, and Teams becoming where people are kind of centering, their work and everything's evolving around Teams, we're seeing apps becoming obviously a really important part of people's workflow. We're seeing apps pop out into their own window. It's not a massive leap actually to be able to do something just take this Teams application and add Electron and just run it entirely standalone from Teams. There's a lot of technicals under the hood why that can't just work, but like actually it sort of makes quite a lot of sense. So it's interesting to see how this will all converge, because there's a lot of things in play here. Like it's Electron plus Windows for apps, it's plus Teams apps, and yeah, it's kind of interesting, I think, to see how it's going to evolve. The reason I'm a bit hesitant, I think, is desktop apps. I don't know. Like I haven't really felt the need to kind of use Electron yet, because if you're writing applications, they're okay living in websites. They can be web apps. The browser's pretty powerful now. If you need stuff on the desktop, I guess there is that like desktop support, like in the example for like changing wallpaper. There's definitely things that you need to be running on the desktop for, but more and more those things seem less actually. I don't know. It's just ramblings. But anyway, if you are looking to build a Electron application and you're inside that Electron application, you are planning on accessing Microsoft Graph, then definitely go check out what's new in the Microsoft Graph Toolkit, specifically this Electron provider, because I think it'll save you a whole bunch of time. All right, I think that's everything from me. Like I say, really quick one this week. Just wanted to cover off the Azure Communication Services blog posts I've been doing, those new capabilities for mobile applications being GA, and then this new Electron provider as well. So some new interesting things into the kind of developer roadmap. All right, have a great weekend, whatever it is you're doing, and I will speak to you again next time.